So there are certain stories that have gone into mainstream that I have watched intently and never understood how everyone was not as interested in them as I am. And I think the Jeffrey Epstein case is probably the single greatest one of all time, because this is like the one time when we peeked under a veil that no one had seen under, where the real elites operate. Because anyone who's smart and has taken the time to analyze the way that the world actually works knows that there is a very, very small group of people that wield so much power that you can't even wrap your brain around it. And I can at least tell you that they operate without the fear of consequence, okay? Now, obviously, they can't just go out into the middle of Times Square and shoot someone in the face on video, but they can essentially get away with anything, okay? I want you to actually think about what would you do if you could live your life completely free of consequences, okay? Anybody you got mad enough at that you would have actually had them killed in the event that you knew for 100% sure that there was no chance you'd get caught and go to prison, you know, something like that. And some of these people who live in that world, you know, and you say, hey, you live free of consequence. It's like, all right, hey, what do you think their kinks are? Like, what kind of kinky stuff do you think that they would get into if they had zero fear of judgment or consequence legally? And that is where you get into the Jeffrey Epstein story, okay? Because the Jeffrey Epstein story is a story of power, control, and potentially ancient religion. And that's what we're going to get into today, because we got a look into the Jeffrey Epstein cathedral that is on his island, okay, for the first time. And I watched James O'Keefe cover this, and I watched this video, and I saw what's inside of that temple. And again, I cannot stress enough, you need to make sure you get to the end of this video, or at least after the island part of this, so that I can show you what these things mean that are inside of his cathedral, because no one has made this connection yet. And this is one of those things where, oh, you want to connect the gate theory to Epstein directly. Well, that's exactly what we are going to do. So buckle up. Now, here's some very important context from the first James O'Keefe Epstein Island video. And it's just a really quick piece of art. Trust me, it is very relevant that you guys have this at the front of your mind when we look at the rest of this stuff.
One prominent artwork, a large framed photo of a nude baby in a sink. The baby is holding a phallic-shaped object. The image is hung above the kitchen table.
Okay, so one piece of art in his kitchen, and that's what it is. Involves a baby in a very bizarre situation. Now let's take a look at the temple.
Back in 2019, Jeffrey Epstein's arrest for sex trafficking set the internet on fire, and one image became iconic. This mysterious building on his private island, Little St. James, located in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The gold dome represented those on the religious structures around the world, like the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. We found that Epstein's temple most closely resembles this building in Aleppo, Syria, a bathhouse constructed in the year 1384 by a Muslim dynasty. There are obvious similarities, such as the gold dome roof.
It's identical. It's identical. Okay? Like, that is an identical recreation of that bathhouse, and from the 1300s, right? So we are establishing that this is a group of people who are laser focused on ancient religions. And so remember, this was in ancient Syria in the 1300s, okay? Now keep in mind, this is the time of the Canaanites, all right? The Canaanites were a group who inhabited modern day Israel, Jordan, parts of Syria during the Bronze Age. They are referred to as ancient biblical texts as Canaanites, okay? So just keep that in mind for later, okay? That's an important point that we're going to come back to, all right? And let's continue.
There are obvious similarities, such as the gold dome roof and the stripes, but also notice the identical stripe pattern around the tops of the arches. There is no record of Epstein ever traveling to Syria.
Because we have so much to get to it, we're going to move forward to what the inside of this temple looks like and skip a little bit of context that I don't think is super important.
Inside this structure. In 2019, the closest thing to it was Business Insider releasing the account of a local piano tuner, Patrick Barron, who alleged that he visited the temple to service a piano it contained. However, the video we obtained shows an interior that differs from Barron's description. Through this never-before-seen footage, we show you what it was like to visit inside Epstein's temple. You travel up a gravelly road that hugs the tropical hillside, past what appears to be a helicopter landing site, which is situated in a discreet green field where Epstein and his elite guests would arrive by air. You crest the ridgeline and spot a giant sundial. Seen here in drone footage from a YouTube account named Rusty Shackelford, this large and mysterious sundial-born image resembling the sun. But it also resembles a figure known as the Masonic Man, who first appeared in a 1754 pamphlet commenting on Freemasonry. You ascend further, and the infamous building emerges on a small hilltop up the gravel road. This footage was captured after Epstein's arrest in 2019. Now, some will say, well, this is old footage, but everything related to Epstein is 5 years old. He died 5 years ago, and all of the tens of thousands of videos are also 5 years old. It's still very important for us to ascertain what actually happened. Now, notice that the signature gold dome is missing on top of this building. It was reportedly blown off during Hurricane Maria 2 years earlier. That was the Category 5 hurricane that barreled through the Virgin Islands, causing mass destruction. On the ground, there were two more statues that resemble centaurs, one holding a trident. We believe that those statues are what you actually see here. At the time of this video's capture, they appear to have been moved from the temple to a sheltered area for storage. The statues depict sea creatures from Greek mythology called ichthyocentaurs. They had a human upper body, the forelegs of a horse, and a fish-like tail. Their names were Aphros, meaning sea foam, and Bythos, meaning the depths of the sea. They were often depicted in art as the beings that lifted Aphrodite, Greek goddess of beauty, from the ocean at the time of her birth. Now, approaching the temple, you can observe that the three-dimensional qualities, the architectural features, have simply been painted on to a flat, two-dimensional surface, not unlike the sets for a stage play. Now we are on the inside of the temple. You're looking at a photograph taken inside the temple. There is no piano, no supervillain chair, no sacrificial altar, no child sacrifice. Appears to be no elevator going into the ground, as some have conjectured. Just another renovation project. Looks like it was never completed. Now, looking up at the ceiling, here's a high-quality photograph where you can see one more piece of art. A large canvas that depicts the zodiac constellations. It bears a striking resemblance to a year 1570 fresco on the ceiling of an Italian palace. Very similar images there.
All right, so I think the important takeaways that I saw from that temple are the fact that this group is obsessed with ancient gods. Okay, that's what those are. Like, they're just, it's constantly like these ancient symbolism references everywhere, right? And so I wanted to show you guys what the cult of Moloch is, all right? But first, I'm going to show you why this is relevant. So in an email that was released with the same cache of emails in WikiLeaks, there was an email sent by Hillary Clinton that says, "With fingers crossed, the old rabbit's foot out of the box in the attic, I will be sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch." Okay. Like, I mean, at least me, I had never heard of Moloch. I had no idea who that was. I don't know how that could be a reference that is so common knowledge in those circles that she could make a joke. Like, I mean, it sounds like she's making a joke, right? She's pulling a rabbit's foot out of the attic, you know, fingers crossed, and she's sacrificing a chicken to Moloch. The only reason that's weird, again, is because the reference is clearly so common knowledge in that circle that she could just make that reference and know everyone's going to know the reference, right? So obviously people started looking into who's Moloch. Like, what is that, you know, what's the story with Moloch? So remember, we were talking about when that temple was built, the original one in Syria. All right, so check this out. Okay, so let's look at the working definition of, whoops, that's the wrong one. Where did that go? There we go. So let's take a look at this, okay? So Moloch, also known as Moloch, is an ancient Canaanite deity. Remember we talked about Canaanites, same time frame, and in the same area, Syria, as when that temple was built, that temple was modeled after. It's the exact replica, it looks like. Okay, so Moloch is known as Moloch, an ancient Canaanite deity primarily associated with child sacrifice in the Hebrew Bible. The name Moloch is believed to be a misvocalized form of Melech, king, possibly intended to convey the idea of a shameful king. Okay, so as I understand it, Moloch is essentially like an early version of Satan. Okay, it was like a forbidden, basically like a forbidden black magic back then. Okay, and again involved child sacrifice. All right. So we're going to get into exactly how this all connects, because it's very important to understand the reference, the temple, the timeline, who Moloch is, and now watch this.
Cult of Moloch, creating the largest Tophet.
By the way, this is from Dauntless Dialogue, which is where, if you guys have ever watched Mouthy Buddha and you're like, man, I wish that guy would come back. If you come and subscribe to Dauntless Dialogue, there are probably 30 Mouthy Buddha videos that you've never seen that he released after kind of going dark behind the paywall. When I found it, oh my God, dude, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. It was like tripping over like a hose in my backyard and landing on $1 million. That's how much I love his content. And I've been like, man, I wish he would just keep making stuff. I had no idea he'd been making stuff for years behind the Dauntless Dialogue paywall. Anyway, but this is some of his stuff.
Ever discovered, covering almost 4 miles with 9 descending levels. Rabbinical tradition stated, quote, the body of Moloch was hollow, divided into 7 compartments. In one, which they put flour. In the 2nd through 6th, they put animals. And in the 7th, a child, which were all burned together by heating the statue inside. Initially, scholars interpreted these claims as exaggerated fictions, stemming from Greek and Roman propaganda, who publicly shamed these cults as barbaric. But in 1923, French-led excavations at Carthage found some 20,000 burials containing cremated infant and animal bones kept in urns, inscribed with dedications to Baal and the Phoenician theonym for Moloch.
Oh, real quick. You guys remember Baal? You guys remember that? Because where you might have heard the name Baal before was in the whole Balenciaga saga. You guys remember that? And in one of those, like, oh, they hid all this like secret satanic stuff in their ad. One of them was here, where you see this tape that says Balenciaga, except they added an extra L, so it is Baal. Okay, which, as you can see here, is another name for Moloch, the god of child sacrifice. Okay, so just more stuff to note, just more stuff to note, right? Let's continue. Oops, that's the wrong one. Okay, let's continue.
They discovered long genealogical pedigrees, signifying noble families, with one lineage stretching back 16 generations, suggesting the ritual was, quote, an elite practice. The University of Oxford published a study of the findings, concluding the Greek and Roman accounts were true, and not, as modern scholars believed, propaganda. They also reaffirmed previous analyses that because the ritual was so expensive, only the wealthiest and most powerful in Carthage could have practiced it. The cult of Moloch was real, an unspeakable evil carried out by wealthy humans while their society was flourishing. An author of the study said, quote, we should not imagine that ancient people thought like us and were horrified by the same things. But remember, the Greeks and the Romans were just as appalled then as we are now. Even many animals have an unquenchable desire for the safety of their offspring. Something curious happened to the rulers of Carthage long ago. What was it? And with the cult of Moloch substantiated, it would seem that anyone knowledgeable of its horror would react with abhorrence and disgust. And with most of the world having no idea about this, why then, or how then, does Hillary Clinton know about Moloch?
So there's some pretty solid context, Now, again, does this implicate Hillary Clinton in anything? No, nothing. It's just weird. It's just weird that she knew all that stuff, because the only reason we all know now is because of that email. And this is a practice that was done among elites in secret. And it went back 16 generations when they unearthed the, they did the excavations and stuff. So is it possible that that's a practice that's continued to current state in secret among the like really high-end global elites? No, that's not impossible at all. Not impossible at all. And then when you start going into some of the things, I'm actually not going to get into the, like the Instagram posts and all this stuff that put us on to like the obsession with babies. But I mean, you saw in Jeffrey Epstein's kitchen, he got one piece of art in the kitchen, and it's of a baby in this little encased thing, which seems to resemble the way that they would put the baby into a thing in, Moloch, and then close the door and then burned. Okay. And now there's a lot more to come too. We're just getting started. Now, all of the people who are big haters, okay, buckle up. Okay. So here is something I'm going to show you. Now, everybody knows this is a very, very touchy subject, and I am not making any implications that anyone is guilty of anything. I am just going to show you documented information that is in periodicals of note, and I'm going to give you all the relevant context, okay? So this is in the Washington Times, all right? So this is explaining what the source of some of these, Satanism rumors were around Hillary Clinton and John Podesta. And spoiler alert, Hillary Clinton has nothing to do with this at all. She had no communication with anybody here. This is an email exchange between John Podesta and Marina Abramovich, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly who she is. So in John Podesta's leaked emails, there was an invite to a, quote, spirit cooking dinner. Now, I realize this is going to sound like remedial information to people who are very familiar with this. I promise this is not going to be remedial for anybody when we get to the conclusion. Okay, so spirit cooking with essential aphrodisiac recipes was released by Miss Abramovich in 1996, but the ingredients call for, quote, fresh breast milk with sperm milk to be consumed on earthquake nights. And there are other reports that blood is also involved, and it's not even just reports, because I'm going to show you in a second. Okay. The New York Museum of Arts called it a cookbook for evocative instructions for actions or thoughts. Another recipe calls for fresh morning urine. So the email that came was, are you in town? Are you in New York City Thursday, July 9th? Marina wants you to come to dinner, Mary. Tony Podesta said in an email forwarded to his brother. And the email that he forwarded said, Dear Tony, I am so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. That's from Marina Abramovich. In a June 25th email sent at 2:35 a.m. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is coming? And that's Tony. Okay, so all my love, Marina. Now, the spirit cooking, as I understand, was a very private event, that there was only like 10 or 11 people that attended, at least the one that she was inviting them to. But she's also very well known for hosting these massive, parties for like A-list celebrities, okay? Like the real A-list, like the A-listers, exactly who you're thinking. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Katy Perry, Will Ferrell, people like that, okay? And at one of them, a very notorious one, she had a bunch of cakes out there that were made to look just like a human body, which you see right here. Okay, so this is a cake, and you see how realistic it is. And I've seen all these images of these celebrities like cutting off these pieces of cake from this what appears to be 100% like human body. Okay, I just saw a Mr. Beast video where he was like, you get to choose this bag of cash or this thing that looks identical to a bag of cash, but it's actually a cake. And people are picking wrong all the time. A bag of cash. They can make a cake look identical to a bag of cash, and they were picking wrong, okay? And this was human bodies, all right? Just to put it into perspective, like what kind of stuff, other stuff Marina Abramovich is into. And I don't know, I found this deeply disturbing for whatever reason. I don't know, maybe I'm being a pussy, but this freaks me out. Now, I'm going to show you what spirit cooking is again in a second, but also I wanted to give you guys this context, okay? So this is more Marina Abramovich stuff, okay? So adding to the aura surrounding Miss Abramovich, in an interview with singer Lady Gaga that was uploaded to YouTube May 30th, 2010, the entertainer praises a German performance where Miss Abramovich laid on a table with guns, condoms, sleeping pills, and ropes. There was a sign that said the museum goers could, quote, do as they pleased to her, and they were not responsible for anything that happened. Hey, what does that sound like, guys? You know? All right? And listen to this. Somebody tried to F her, and somebody came by and stopped them. They gave her sleeping pills and ripped her shirt open. She was limitless. Quote from Lady Gaga. Now, I just want to point out the obvious of that particular art exhibit. Okay, what does that sound like? Like, what does the devil do? It tempts you. It tempts you. And what did we talk about earlier about the elites and living free of consequence? Right? You could do whatever you want. Okay, you are in this elite class. You can do anything that you want, man. And so that is her artistically representing that concept. Do whatever you want to me. I'm just a vehicle for you to embrace exactly what you think that she's doing. Now, listen to this, okay? So this is spirit cooking, okay? So this is an exhibit that she did explaining it, and this is written in pig's blood on a wall, okay? This is in the New York Times, for the record, okay? Just so we're clear on where I'm sourcing this, New York Times, okay? Like, I want to actually just put that on the screen so there's no one trying to act like I'm doing any conspiracy theory stuff. This is in the New York Times, all right? So this is the spirit cooking. It says, again, and spirit cooking is a fertility ritual, okay? That is what it is. Now, in pig's blood, saliva of your lover mixed with morning dew collected from eucalyptus leaves. Cut with the knife deeply into the middle finger of your left hand. Eat the pain. That is obviously meant to produce the blood that is part of the spirit cooking concoction or whatever, okay? Morning urine, sprinkle over nightmare dreams. Mix fresh breast milk with fresh sperm milk. Drink on earthquake nights. Spin around until you lose consciousness or to eat all of the questions of the day. A drop of the same mix with a drop of water. Take a small amount before crying. Okay? And that has, as you can see, spirit cooking across the top. That is spirit cooking. That she was inviting John and Tony Podesta to. That's what she's inviting them to. I mean, she later said that, no, it's just a regular dinner. Once the emails leaked, I'm giving you all the context. She said, this was just a regular dinner. We just have silly names for our dinner. That is exactly what she said, okay? One other thing that I will give you, since I am being very fair, is that Snopes covered this, all right? And here's what Snopes said, right? So we're covering all sides. Was Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta involved in satanic spirit cooking? An email published by WikiLeaks mentioned spirit cooking, but claims that Hillary Clinton or John Podesta practice satanic rituals are grossly exaggerated. Grossly exaggerated. Practice satanic rituals. First of all, like I said, Hillary Clinton has nothing to do with this. Okay, Hillary Clinton was not involved in this. She had no communications with Marina Abramovich. There were no emails to her, from her at all. She is only connected because John Podesta was her campaign manager. This was all about John Podesta's emails, okay? I just want to make sure I'm being clear about that, all right? But practice satanic rituals are grossly exaggerated? Does that sound like a no? No, it does not sound like a no, all right? And it's in this Snopes article where she said, false, okay. And it says, here we go. So spirit cooking was an art project Abramovich created in 1996. Although Abramovich's cookbook does reference recipes containing bodily fluids such as semen and breast milk, Abramovich told Art News that her home cooking events don't actually feature those items. Okay, all right. And then Snopes also said that neither Tony or John Podesta attended the dinner. So, listen, I'm not exactly, the fact check guru of the internet, but you can take Snopes' word for it, or you can just say that you don't know whether they went or not, because I feel confident saying, I don't know whether they went or not. I just know they got invited. This is where the Lasagna Gate thing has always stopped, right? It's like, okay, this is obviously pretty weird, dude, right? Pretty weird. All right. But there has never been a direct connection to this being a satanic ritual, right? It's like, it sounds like a satanic ritual. Never been a connection directly to it. I'm going to give you one right now. Okay. So this is Alexander Crowley. Okay. Now, anybody who knows who he is, he's a very notorious occultist. And, you'll be able to find articles that say like, oh no, he wasn't a Satanist, but his nickname for himself was Great Beast 666. Okay. Do I know whether he's a Satanist or not? No, but I know that his name was Great Beast 666, and everybody considers him one of the most important Satanists of all time. Like all these people who are into this stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think he's probably a Satanist, right? Because Great Beast 666. Now watch this, guys. Okay. Buckle up. So let's see if we can find out what the origin of spirit cooking is.
So too do followers of Aleister Crowley. In his book, Magic in Theory and Practice, he states, a male child of perfect innocence and high intelligence is the most satisfactory and suitable victim. The bloody sacrifice, though more dangerous, is more efficacious, and for nearly all purposes, human sacrifice is the best. Referring to...
Hey, nice, guys. Hey, does that line up with anything we've been talking about? Aleister Crowley, connected straight to the Moloch thing, and then buckle up.
Himself as the Beast 666, Crowley was an individualist, arch-Satanist who created the cult of Thelema, the Grand Lodge Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO, and a ritual called sex magic, which...
By the way, little known fact, L. Ron Hubbard, who founded Scientology, was a member of this cult prior to going out on his own and starting Scientology. And if you know anything about the levels of Scientology, it was like, oh, you get to clear. And then they had the additional levels, and those are OT, which he says are operating Thetan, whatever. But I've always found that wildly coincidental that the, satanic cult that he was a part of was called OTO. And then he called his upper levels OT. And he had spoken specifically about his desire to become a living deity with his own religion. He takes part in these satanic rituals as an OTO guy and then becomes exactly what he asked for. Okay. Now I'm not saying that I can verify that there's a world where you can actually sell your soul to Satan and get everything you want in this material world. But these are just things that I think about where it's like, whoa, dude. Okay. Now,
Orientis, or OTO, and a ritual called sex magic, which includes drinking mixtures of semen and blood.
Sex magic that involves drinking a mixture of semen and blood. I'm sorry, does that sound familiar, guys? Cut deep with the knife, deeply into your middle finger of your left hand, eat the pain. Mix fresh breast milk with sperm milk. Drink on earthquake nights. So spirit cooking is literally directly from Aleister Crowley's satanic ritual. Okay? Now, does that mean that she's a Satanist? You tell me. Which brings us back to the original question, which is, why is she emailing Tony and John Podesta to a spirit cooking dinner for her and her closest 10 friends? Now that you know exactly what that spirit cooking thing is. Okay? And if you really want to understand Lasagna Gate, that's Lasagna Gate. Which is why I have trouble discussing this with people who are really heavy into this topic, is because I am very good at being able to decipher very suspicious things and understanding where definitive evidence lies, where you could start making statements of fact. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's always slipping through your fingers. There is nothing that you can just say or draw out of that other than, what on earth are they doing talking to her about that? Right? So when people are saying like, oh yeah, they're in this satanic cult, you're like, you don't know that for sure. You cannot verify that for sure. What you could say is that is very suspicious and very weird and something you would never imagine that people at that level would be partaking in if the world is what you think it is, as you are learning that it is not. Okay? And this is just a sliver. This is just a sliver of some of this stuff. But this is one that I can document with the New York Times, Washington Examiner, without using a single logic or factual leap. It's just right there. Okay? So when people start telling you that these, lasagna gators are crazy, some of them might be crazy. But if you're smart and you look at that, that doesn't seem bizarre enough to you to be interesting that you kind of want to look at it like, what on earth? Does the prospect that elites are partaking in child sacrifice rituals seem interesting? What could possibly be a more interesting topic than that? You know? But again, I've been very cautious. I'm not pointing a finger at any specific person that I don't have factual information that they did something specific. I'm showing you exactly what we can document. I'm even avoiding the conversation of people's art collections because I cannot personally verify that all of those art pieces actually belong to any specific person. I've only seen that on the internet, and all of the credible media sources, none of them have covered it. So I just have to leave that stuff out. But, I told you, there are people I'm utterly terrified of, and I am intentionally leaving them out of this video.